You You're listening to Coffee Talk on WPKY. It is a beautiful, sunshiny 34 at 8:26. We are joined this morning by longtime community member Chip Hutcheson. Now, Chip, I called. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, when I called you, I said, Chip, would you mind coming in for a goodbye, farewell, and amen tour? Did you get that reference?
I did. Yes, I did.
So, of course, that's the goodbye, farewell, and amen. And I'm mentioning this because it may very well in the future become a trivia question. May or may not be on my list already. Goodbye, farewell, and amen. What is that a reference to?
Well, I know that has to be from a good movie.
So you didn't know. You don't know the answer to this trivia question.
I don't know the movie, but the amen certainly resonates with me.
Right. Goodbye, farewell, and amen is the name of the last episode of MASH.
Okay.
Just for future reference, just for trivia for you to know.
I feel terrible that I did not realize that because I am definitely a MASH fan. I have watched it, of course, when it was still on. I watch the reruns now. I loved Alan Alda in that role, and my family mocked me because of the way I sometimes acted like Alan Alda.
So you should have known that one. I'm surprised you didn't know that one.
I am very disappointed I didn't pick that one up. I knew the phrase, but I didn't make the connection to what TV show
where it came from.
Yes.
It was the last episode of MASH. They called it the Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen episode. Okay, so why are we saying goodbye, farewell, and amen?
Well, we're saying that unlike MASH, which was for them to leave Korea, my wife and I are moving to Louisville, and we'll be moving here a week from Wednesday. We've been through this process, it seems like, for far too long for both of us as far as getting prepared for the move. But this began actually a year ago when we felt the Lord leading us from Princeton to the Louisville area for ministry purposes. Our daughter says that we're leaving here, and our daughter and her family live here, to be near our favorite child, which is not true. That is not it. We did not have in our minds to ever leave Princeton. But the Lord just began to work on our hearts that it was time for us to leave. And for the record, we do plan on returning. Once this part of our journey ends, we do want to return to Princeton at some point in time. But for the very foreseeable future, we'll be living in Louisville. We sold our house here and bought a house in Louisville, getting ready to make that move. And when we had made the decision, I had talked to the director of missions for the Louisville Baptist Association, who assured me that they would have places for me to serve there, churches that would need interim pastors or possibly even a senior pastor. And that was what we anticipated. And then in February, I was offered a position with the Kentucky Baptist Convention, and I'll be serving as their interim editor of the statewide Baptist publication called the Western Recorder. Been in existence for well over 100 years, over 150 years actually, and that is now a monthly magazine, and so I will be tasked with that responsibility of producing that every month. And my major responsibility right now be going out to inform people about it and try to get people to subscribe to it. It's the best buy you'll ever find, so it's a very low subscription price and very quality publication. So we're excited about that.
How long have you been in Princeton, Chip?
Well, I grew up here. My parents bought the newspaper here when I was 8 months old, and so moved here, and then I went all through school here. So I lived in Princeton through my high school graduation, went to UK for 4 years, then worked in Hopkinsville for 6 years, and we moved. My wife and myself and our at that time 3-month-old daughter moved to Princeton in 1976.
This is your favorite daughter that you're going to.
Yeah. Well, this is our daughter who says that she's not the favorite.
Oh, I got it. This is the
her.
Jealous daughter. Okay.
Well, she's the one who certainly likes us being here, as well as our 12-year-old grandson, and we've of course enjoyed greatly that time with them. But we've assured her we're still going to be here. We're going to visit, and they can visit us. But we've been here since
not that far away.
No,
so
not that far away at all. So 42 and a half years, and we the Lord willing, we will move back here when we cannot, get out and work in ministry as I can now.
Chip, so you've been in Princeton for 42 and a half years. I mean, pretty much all of your adult life, that's all you've known is small town living.
Yes.
Now you're going to move to Louisville.
Yes.
So how are you feeling about that?
Well, Misty, that is a frightening thing because I joked Sunday night, you go back in the Bible when God told Abraham to go into a far country, and I'm not going to a far country, but Louisville seems somewhat close to it. Mm-hmm. And Abraham was around 80 years old when that happened. I'm 70. But the traffic, I'm not a patient traffic person, so maybe the Lord's going to teach me some patience in this. Where we live, I've got a pretty easy way into work at the KBC building, but I've since been told when I'm going to be driving in, it's pretty crazy. So we'll see. I'm used to, and people know here, I have a little bit of a heavy foot, so I'm used to driving fast to go wherever I want to go. So I'm going to have to get that under control.
Mm-hmm. I have a friend that moved from like Mayfield to Houston, and he's always talking about, these jobs that he's looking at. They're maybe a 10-minute drive, but when he's going to work, they're a 2-hour drive.
Yes, and that's I tell you the way that we have reconciled this. We say at least it's not as bad as Nashville traffic.
Okay.
So it's always good to look at the positive side rather than the negative. It's certainly a lot worse than Princeton traffic, but it's not as bad as Nashville traffic.
Okay, so Louisville drivers are better than Nashville drivers.
Right. Well, yes, and you got various routes where in Nashville there are places I don't know how you ever get from point A to point B sometimes. You're out in that Green Hills area and those places, and there just is no way. But Louisville has the bad thing is when there's, of course, an accident, construction. That's what really holds it up. But we will miss the great lifestyle here of Princeton and the friendliness of people, and it's just it's an incredible community. It was the perfect place for our children to be raised here. Great school system, just wonderful friends, and our children have loved it here. Of course, our son does live in Louisville, but we're 17 miles from him, so it's not like we're in their back door. So I'll have plenty to keep me busy while I'm up there. Mm-hmm. So rather than just visiting with family.
Mm-hmm. Is your son the only family you have?
Yes, our son and his family. We have 4 grandchildren there. They are 17, 16, 8, and 7. And I'm sure my wife will be called on sometimes to help to transport kids from one place to another. 4 grandchildren in 3 different schools. Ooh. So they have a pretty hectic lifestyle there.
Absolutely, sounds like it. And this is, I just can't imagine. So we've already talked about going from small town to large city. I wonder if you'll be able to find a community maybe to substitute what's missing. Well,
of course, it will be different. We do know a lot of people in Louisville. And there are people who have moved from Princeton to Louisville. My wife's college roommate lives in Louisville. We have friends like David and Karen Scott who They were at Southside Baptist here, church members of ours for 14 years. He's in ministry at Ormsby Heights Baptist Church in Louisville. So we've got those people, plus, yes, I will say this. Princeton is the center of the universe. That has been our argument for many years. Our children believe that. Our grandchildren believe that. Wherever you go, you're going to find a Princeton connection. And when we closed on the house that we purchased in Louisville, people saw that. Here we are with people who've lived in Louisville all their lives, and they talked about one of the people working at the attorney's office there, and said, "Oh, she's Mike Casey's daughter." Well, Mike Casey and I went to school together at UK.
Oh.
And so Mike Casey knows about Princeton, Kentucky. They called her in, and so here are all these people from Louisville saying, "How do you make these connections with people?" Mm-hmm. So it is a small world. We do know the neighborhood we're living in is a very close-knit community. The people who we bought the house from, they have relocated in that same area just because they love that. It's in the Fern Creek area of Louisville. They love that area so much and talk about how everybody gets along. So we're looking forward to making new friends, new experiences. Have
you checked on like the difference in the cost of living there? Is it?
Well, obviously, gasoline is a huge factor. It typically is 20 to 30 cents more a gallon. So if that gives you an idea, certainly it is going to be a higher cost of living. And so I guess that'll just decrease the inheritance we're leaving to our kids.
And your daughter's going, and if you just stay in Princeton.
Yes, I've heard that quite a bit. The biggest challenge we've got now is we're trying to downsize as far as the things that we're moving, and we're having a hard time doing that. So Joseph's Storage Bin has been beneficiary of quite a few things of ours, and we're trying to give some things to our daughter. She does not want to take those, at least not. She's not very anxious to take those. But our 12-year-old grandson here has loved many of the things I've given him. Mm-hmm. So I've diverted my strategy to where I give them to him and not to her. So
that way they get through the door anyway.
Yeah, it's going the back way in.
Aw. Well, I mean, that's good that she's having a hard time. That's bad for her. But, not everybody has a close relationship with their children.
Right.
So
and yes, we're thankful for that. And, this has been such a great community for us. We love Princeton. We do hope to return to it. Had the opportunity, I was a member at Southside Baptist Church for 42 years. Been interim pastor at Lebanon Baptist Church since January the 9th, and that's incredible friends that we've made out there in just a short time. What a loving, wonderful congregation out there. It just shows you that there are good people, different churches. Change the name, you still got a lot of good people, a lot of people faithful in their service, a lot of people who you enjoy getting to know. And for Karen and myself, that opportunity to go to a different church like Lebanon and to make the great friendships in such a short period of time has been just fantastic.
Chip, what would you like to say before you leave 1 week from tomorrow?
Ooh. Yes, Misty, that's a tough question. Just that we're so thankful and appreciative of everyone and what this community has meant to us, for the way they have embraced us, their support. My wife was a home health RN, made so many great friends and impacted so many lives. And people often talk to her about what a blessing she was to them, and she will tell them very quickly what a blessing they were to her. And me and my role in the newspaper here, I could not have asked for people to be any kinder, any more supportive. So Princeton, just keep doing what you're doing, and we will hopefully still be familiar faces around here. We'll travel back for special events, and I know there'll be those, unfortunately, those times that we'll be back here visiting at the funeral home. with people. But we will, once this segment of our lives it passes, once we get into being an even older age, we hope to move back here and spend the last few years of our lives here. So gone for a season, and then hopefully we will return depending on just where the Lord leads us. But we are moving according to what we feel the Lord's directing our paths to, and excited about those opportunities.
Chip, I appreciate you coming in today. I wish you the best of everything.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure to get to know you. You're one of the first people I met when I came to Princeton, and I've really enjoyed your company.
Well, likewise, Misty, you've been great to work with, and I am so thankful for the job that you do here and for the presence of WPKY in this community. Again, people in Princeton, once you leave Princeton, you find out how good it is, and you don't find people like you, radio stations like this, in other places. So your investment in this community and WPKY's investment is much to be applauded. So thank you, and if I'm ever around, maybe we'll work it out sometime. We'll have an update if I'm traveling through Princeton.
And I was going to say that when you know you're coming back, not necessarily when you're coming back for one of the funerals, but when you know you're coming back for something, give me a call and we'll have you back on the show.
I would love to. Thank you, Misty.
Thank you, Chip. Chip Hutcheson, longtime Princeton resident. We're saying goodbye today, but not forever, just for a season. Stay tuned on Coffee Talk. We're going to talk to Shannon Blosser here pretty soon about a trip that he recently took to a very fascinating place. We'll be right back.